Pranams to all of you. What is Indian culture? We often hear people talking about Indian culture, culture of the Indian people, and so on. What is it? What is Indian culture actually? Now, if you look closely, what we mean by Indian culture is actually the Rishi culture, the culture of the great sages and Munis and Yogis and Rishis of ancient India. Culture is what makes a nation's people, their expression, their behavior, their way of life, and so many aspects. So where does this thing called Indian culture come from? Where did it start? You can only go back to the Rishis. Again, if I may remind you, if you observe closely, you will find that the culture, the whatever you want to call it, the culture that was established by the Rishis of yore, that was what sustained, nourished this country called Bharatavarsha or Aryavartha, and not anything else. In fact, the culture of this land is grounded in spirituality. Again, the word spirituality is not a very good word, but because we have been using this word for a long time, let us use that for the time being. What is spirituality? What actually it is? I want to read a few lines from the great Sri Aurobindo, who talks about what spirituality is really. Few words, few lines, and then I'll explain. Aurobindo says, spirituality is not a high intellectuality, not idealism, not an ethical turn of mind or moral purity and austerity, nor religiosity, or an ardent and exalted emotional fervor, not even a compound of all these excellent things. Right at the beginning, none of this is spirituality. Spirituality is not a mental belief. Note that word, belief. Spirituality is not believing in something or not believing in something. It has nothing to do with mental belief. Sri Aurobindo is very clear. Spirituality is not a mental belief, a creed or faith or an emotional aspiration, a regulation of conduct according to a religious or ethical formula. All these are not spiritual achievement and experience. These things are of considerable value to mind and life. They are of value to the spiritual evolution itself as preparatory movements, disciplining, purifying, or giving a suitable form to the nature. Spirituality is in its essence, says Sri Aurobindo, an awakening to the inner reality. Note these words, awakening. Right? Our own self, our own being. Spirituality is an inner aspiration, nothing to do with outer things. An inner aspiration to know, to understand, to realize who one is. Who am I? Actually, Not the body, not the personality, not your name, not your form, not your bank balance, not your degrees behind your names, none of that. Who are you essentially? Actually, what are you? Who were you before birth into this present body? And what will happen after this body is gone? What we call death. So, to inquire into all this, to know, to understand, and eventually to realize all this as an experiential reality is spirituality. I can add one more. To know, to understand, to realize this staggering, vast universe or multiverse. To really understand that. You know, I remember once I asked Amma, I want to understand, realize the universe. I used the Malayalam word, Prabhanjam. And she looked at me straight and said, if you want to understand the universe, you have to understand yourself. You have to realize yourself. I was taken aback because I knew this is exactly what the astrophysicists, who have been looking at the universe for years, studying and wanting to find out where all this began, they, came to a breakthrough. You know what they say? The real astrophysicists, not the guys funded by the government and, universities and so on. The real ones. You know what they say? If you want to understand the universe, the vastness, the staggering possibilities, the cosmos, there's only one way. There's only one key. You have to understand yourself. There's no other way. Because you and universe are so deeply interconnected. Not even interconnected, it's one. You and the universe is one. That's what astrophysicists are saying now. The same language used by our Rishis, our sages. This is spirituality. This is what Indian culture is all about. Please understand this very, very clearly. Spirituality is not something, taking sannyas, going away to the Himalayas or what have you. None of that. Spirituality is to do with who you really are. None of those external things. Of course, external things may change and, all that will happen later on. But this is the core. What is spirituality? This, to know, to realize yourself and this magnificent universe. This is spirituality. This is where what we call Indian culture is grounded. And if you look at everything, arts, science of India, of our ancient country, Bharatavarsha, you take anything, dance, music, what have you, in everything you will find the presence of divinity. Songs in praise of divinity, dance in praise of divinity, sculpture in the praise of divinity. Everything is saturated with divinity. There's nothing but divinity. So our ancient culture, what we call Indian culture or Rishi culture, is grounded, rooted in spirituality. Spirituality is everything. The great Swami Vivekananda, even today, Ramakrishna Math people, sannyasis, they always refer to Swami Vivekananda as Swamiji Maharaj. They never use Swami Vivekananda. Always Swamiji Maharaj. So Swamiji Maharaj would often say that if spirituality, as I told you, that's not a very good word. The best word in Sanskrit is Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana, eternal. Dharma, no translation. Dharma is Dharma. Sanatana Dharma, way of life. Here in this country, there was no such thing as religion. That is a borrowed idea, exported from those other countries, which came much, much later. So here it was a way of life, not religion, based on spirituality. So Swamiji used to say, if spirituality, Sanatana Dharma, were to go out of India, destroyed, dissolved, wiped away, India is dead. Right? That is what Swamiji said. If spirituality goes out of India, India is no more. I remember this lovely anecdote of Swamiji Maharaj. I think during his second visit to England, he was giving a talk on India, on the greatness of India, on its culture, on its rishis and sages, science, art, technology, what have you, constant. The Swamiji's talk was flowing all about India and the greatness of India. And every 2 or 3 minutes, one guy in the audience, one British fellow, he would get up, put up his hand, because he wanted to ask something. But Swamiji's flow was, like flowing, so intense. And Swamiji went on, almost ignored him. Again, second time, he stood up, put up his hand. Third time, fourth time, fifth, sixth, went on. But Swamiji was flowing. The others around this guy, this gentleman, was feeling annoyed, irritated. And one of the audience members in the front, he slowly got up and looked at Swamiji and said, Swamiji, please answer this gentleman because he is disturbing. He wants to know something. Please answer him and then we will continue. And Swamiji Maharaj, which is with his brilliant big eyes, looked at that gentleman and said, yes, sir. What do you want? What do you want to know? Ask. And that gentleman, British pride, you see, puffed up with British pride, he looked up at Swamiji and said, you speak so much about your country, your rishis, your science, your technology, your arts, everything. If your country was really that great, why didn't you people come to us and teach us? Right? Good question. But look at the answer, what Swamiji Maharaj gave. With a mischievous smile, Swamiji looked at this gentleman and said, sir, we were ready to come and teach all of you. Teach our knowledge, teach our technology, our science, our spirituality. Yes, we were ready to come and teach. But tell me, sir, where was your England? See that? That fellow never opened his mouth again. What an answer! Absolutely true. When we were at the height of everything, whether it is science or technology or spirituality or what have you, the rest of the world were roaming around. Vagabonds, hunting deer. When we were distilling zinc here, they were roaming in the forest, jungle, most of the rest of the world. And what were we doing? Of course, glorious heights. Kanchi Mahaperiva used to say that the original name of California in the United States, the original name of California was Kapilaranyam. From that word, Kapilaranyam, California came over a period of several hundreds and thousands of years. Meaning, our great sage, Sankhya Yogi, Kapila Maharshi, his ashram was in California, that place. Those days, there was no United States of America, only those continents. Kapilaranyam, Aranyam, forest. The forest of sage Kapila. Same thing Kanchi Mahaperiva used to say about Russia. Rishi Varsha, land of the Rishis. So we were all over. Even the Sumerians, supposed to be the first modern civilization, where did they come from? Do your homework. You'll understand. So, this is Indian culture. This is Bharatiya Samskara, Aryavarta. And one or two more points. I'm sure you must have heard about Karl Marx. Poor guy. He was actually poor in his life, but he wrote this, lovely work, which later they turned into communism. Karl Marx, he writes about, whatever he has understood in his intellectual capacity. He wrote that human beings can be divided into two divisions. Those who have and those who don't have. He was talking about money, material wealth. So those who have, those who don't have. Very easy. That's what you see in the world. But he did not know that there was a third category. Right? He did not know because he knew nothing about India. Those who have, understandable. Those who don't have, understandable. What is the third category? Those who had but did not want. Interesting. Those who had everything, wealth and you name it, but they did not want. Why? Because they had already realized deep, experientially, the name, very corrupted word, God. God realized beings. They had realized who they are and what this is all about. And so they did not want anything. There are so many examples in our history, in our culture. Gautama Buddha. You can go on and on and on. You do your homework. They had everything. Power, money, wealth, influence. They did not want anything. This is the only country in the entire world which produced the maximum number of enlightened beings, awakened beings, Rishis and Yogis. No other country. This is Indian culture. The maximum number. In fact, most of the sages and yogis of other countries had to one time or the other come to this country, sit with the Himalayan masters, learn, realize, and go back to their country to teach. The Nazarene, of course, Jesus Christ, Apollonius of Tyana, Pythagoras, you name it. I can go on giving you the list, but that's not the point. All of them came to India. to the Rishis and sages of India. This is where they learnt, they understood, they realized that the purpose of life, there's only one purpose of life: to realize who you really are. What are you? Who are you? Not intellectually, that is nothing. Actually, realization. This is Indian culture. And Indian culture, obviously, that's why you find the expressions of divinity everywhere. Look at architecture, look at buildings, look at art, look at painting, look at music, dance, anything. Immersed in spirituality. Wow, what a culture. This is what attracts the Westerners now in the present times. After Vivekananda exploded in Chicago, Parliament of World Religions, since then Westerners have been coming to India, not to look at Taj Mahal and Fatehpur Sikri. Forget it. No. They are coming even today. Go to any metropolitan airports, you will find hundreds and hundreds of Westerners flooding to India. Why? Spirituality. They want to go to Rishikesh, they want to go to Himalayas, they want to go to Tiruvannamalai, to Bhagavan Ramana's ashram, sit and meditate and understand what these people are talking about, what this country is all about, what the culture of this country is all about. This is Indian culture. Spirituality and Indian culture, two sides of the same coin. The expression, the outer manifestation, expression of spirituality is culture. This has to be understood very, very clearly. One more point before I close. Sri Aurobindo mother, the mother of Sri Aurobindo ashram, every Wednesday or so, she would ask all the students and disciples and devotees to come and assemble in what is called playground. Even today you can go and see in Aurobindo ashram, playground, and she would sit, against a wall and talk to the, participants, devotees and students and so on. And behind her on the wall, you can see the map of India. I'll display that in this video. Map of India. And anybody who looked at the map told mother, but mother, that is not India. You have included Afghanistan, Tibet, Nepal, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, the whole thing. You have included all the other countries as well. Pakistan. This is not India. And you know what the mother said? The sweet mother, she looked at the questioner and said, yes, I know. Once upon a time, that was India. Of course, she couldn't bring the whole world. The whole world was filled with all these mumukshus, truth seekers. And so the mother said, yeah, I know, that's not India. But, like once upon a time, India again will become like that. Just listen. That's what these great rishis and sages are telling us. Mother said, once again India will be like that, like before. When? I don't know. Mother never gave a clue. But it's coming. So this is Indian culture. This is why the whole world is attracted towards this great civilization. I'm not talking about the present day India. Sorry. Long way to go. So the ancient India, the India of the Rishis, the India of the sages, the India filled with mumukshus, truth seekers, and the whole world. It's coming. The new earth is coming. That is what the great rishis and sages have been telling all along. So this is Indian culture. There is no religious barriers, divisions here. As long as you are a human being, having a human body and mind, spirituality is your birthright. You can't escape. You can't run away. This is not Hinduism. For God's sake, this is not Hinduism. Right? This is what this country stands for. This is what Swami Vivekananda and all the other great rishis have been telling us since ages. I am proud, absolutely proud to have been born and brought up in this great country. Awesome. So I really wish, truly wish all the parents, especially those who are born in this country, settled abroad, other places, and even the parents of other countries, please teach your children all this. Make them love nature. Teach them music. Saturate them with all the stories and anecdotes of all the Puranas and Shastras and Maharshis and sages and yogis, what have you. Let's make this world a better place. Not for us, for our own children and the children of the world. We owe them a better world. Obvious. Right? Thank you. Pranams to all of you.